the Indian education system is going through a crisis. No, I will rephrase that. The unfortunate school-going children of today are going through the worst period of their lives. This generation displays superior intelligence, sharp understanding, supreme confidence, but they face severe stress, fierce competition, an impossible syllabus, verbal and other abuse from the school authorities, the teachers, and even the attendant on the school bus. Don't you agree? As worried parents, what is uppermost on your mind? How can we reduce this stress on their minds and the burden on their little shoulders? Welcome to Your 1%, the unique chat show on VOICESNVIEWS.com. Our today's guests, Padmini and Seshadri, are here to assure us that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Welcome to the show. Padmini and Mr. Seshadri, we are so happy that you are here with us.
Thank you.
Padmini, we'll begin with you. Is teaching your profession or is it your passion?
I would say I'm a mother, so I would be able to teach. Because if I'm in love with children, I'm pretty sure that I can do anything with them. And love and warmth is education for me.
Mr. Seshadri, when and how did this system evolve?
This system, in fact, the education system is based on our own Eastern Gurukul system, which runs back thousands of years. But this Eastern wisdom has traveled to the West. It was, and that wisdom was condensed into the current, for current usage, for modern usage, by the Austrian philosopher, seer and clairvoyant, Dr. Rudolf Steiner, who was born in 1861 in Austria. He died in 1925. He developed a philosophy of human knowledge. He studied how, what is humanness, what is special about a human being when you compare him to others. So out of that developed a system of learning, a system of how human beings develop knowledge within themselves. So this has been there in this world as a modern education system right from the early 20th century. The first Steiner school was established in Stuttgart in the year 1919 in the premises of the Waldorf cigarette factory. At the request of the owner of the cigarette factory, this school was started by Dr. Steiner himself. That was the first school, and that school exists today. So it's almost a 100-year-old system. The methodology essentially remains the same. So from that aspect, it's an old system, but it's absolutely relevant to the modern context, even though it is 100 years old. Today in the world, in Germany, there are more than 800 schools which follow the method of Waldorf education propounded by Dr. Rudolf Steiner. And in Europe, in totality, there may be more than 1,000 schools, kindergarten as well as primary schools. And then it has spread very quickly to America, where the fastest growth over a period of time has happened in America. Then it is there in New Zealand and Australia. And in India, the first school started somewhere around 1998 in Hyderabad. And then in Mumbai, the school started, Trida school started in the year 2000. So we have 5 schools in India, which really is, according to me, a pity, because this is a system which should really have been so infectious that there should have been, we should be talking in terms of lakhs of schools over the last 100 years. But the fact is that there are about 2,000 schools in the world. So that also points towards something else, because the school is a very intensive experience for the children as well as the teachers.
You have a training program in place for teachers, or is it also for the parents?
The training for Waldorf education is not limited to teachers. It has a more involved character to it, not only teachers but also parents have to be there as part of the training program, and we invite parents to come in. In fact, it is out of the group of parents that we get teachers for the education. The most important qualification that someone has to have to be a teacher in a Waldorf school is the love for children. They must be in a position to understand the children, and they must want to know how this child is going to grow.
Is that how you got into this
Exactly.
system?
Yes, that was.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. In my own case, as I said, when both of us, me and Padmini, when we developed that anxiety coming to that level of doing something about it, what we did first was to take our children away from the school. Even though they were, my elder child was just in class 2 and my younger child was in kindergarten. We removed both of them from the school, and the first thing that we could do at that time was to do something called homeschooling, where Padmini took the effort and the responsibility of schooling them at home. So that continued for a year. But even at the end of the year, I realized that both of us realized that there is still something missing. The children were studying, there were books were created. Padmini had her own poetry and her drawings and her storybooks, which the children did study with together. But we felt that there was something really missing. So we continued our quest for an alternative. This was, I'm talking in the late 80s. We didn't find an alternative. But out of nowhere, somewhere around the year 97 or 8, we got in touch with Aban Bana, who in an exhibition sponsored by the UNESCO, she was showcasing an education system called Waldorf Education, and she was heading an organization called the Anthroposophical Initiatives in India. So we went and saw that, and we found another group from our side of town who were also with children of the ages that we had, all looking out for alternatives. So we got together with that, and then that is when we connected with that lady, and this movement to get into anthroposophical education, which is called standard education, started from there. So she trained as a teacher for almost 2 years, and the school, which was based on anthroposophical philosophy, standard education, the first standard school in Mumbai called Trida was born. We started the first school with 19 children in the kindergarten and class 1 at Kalina from a rented bungalow in the year 2000. So today in 2011, 11 years of the school has gone ahead famously, and the first batch of children have already crossed out in class 10, and they are doing pretty well, and they have their own building.
Kids today grow up in a plastic world with television, with videos, the iPod, mobiles. How can you help them to balance their inner and outer worlds?
Yes, that's a very significantly important question, because we are in a plastic world, we are in an electronic world. It's all the more reason that we have to actually extract the children from this environment, and even if there is an element of compulsion in it, throw them into natural surroundings, which have now become kind of abnormal. The normal situation is a plastic situation. The abnormal situation is a natural situation. But the child, even in this age, today's age, needs an interaction with natural material in the natural environment. Even if it was just a 1,000 square foot garden which is there at the foot of your building, is a good enough experience for the little child. It's not necessary for you to take the child on a huge jungle safari in Kenya or whatever. Only this much every day for half an hour or 1 hour does good for both the mother, the parents, as well as the child. Definitely the child, but even the parent will like it, love it. We don't do that. We must do it. It's part of the training in the Waldorf system. Even if the parents are not able to give this kind of environment to the child, the school does. It is not extracurricular activity for the child. It is part of the curriculum. The child has to feel, touch, smell, understand this texture of things made out of wood. So in a Waldorf school, in a kindergarten, if you enter the classroom, you will not find any plastic over there. All the things, even if there are toys made out of wood, they will not be painted with over with lacquer paint or anything. It will be pure natural wood. So the child plays with that, and the methodology goes on along like that. You know, from 0 to 7 it is that. From 0 to 7 the child is a purely physical being, and what is given in the school should address that. There is no sense in giving the child under the age of 7 things which in standard education we call an abstract education of numbers and letters, which makes no sense to the child. You are burdening the child with things which he doesn't need at that time. There is a time for everything. And once that 0 to 7 age is completed, when the child comes to the age of 7, that is when he is truly, as I said, ready to educate himself in abstraction. The entire importance today in the current education system is whether teaching has happened. That is not the thing which is important. Teaching will happen anyway. What is important is has learning happened.
Has learning happened.
No one is bothered about that.
Tell me, what is the emotional rapport between the child and the teacher?
Yes. So this age group of 7 to 14 is the one which establishes the ground for emotional stability. This is the age. These 7 years are the period in which even the school provides for guidance in the emotional arena for the child. I am again saying the school environment can only provide a guidance, can only provide an environment for the child to actually, as we call it in our education, learn himself. If the environment is not there, the child will not learn. The child will go through things. But if the environment is provided, the child learns. So this is the environment which is to be provided. And out of this, there is a copy which also happens in the home. So when we do the training, whether it is a teacher or a parent, we are talking to both on equal footing. So that even if the parent doesn't want to become a teacher, she can replicate the environment in the home, so that the child has the similar thing in both places. One thing which I really want to bring up at this point of time is, it's connected with the homeschooling which I talked about a little earlier. It is at this time, by the time the child is in class 3, which is the age of 9 or so, he literally looks for an adult whose hands he can hold and expects that adult to lead him through in his life. He actually looks for it. Every child looks for it. This is the establishment of an authority in the adult. He is looking at the teacher to be his authority. When I talk about authority, I don't mean authority at the end of a stick, at the end of a cane. I mean authority as someone whom I can trust fully that this person will educate me. So therefore, which means that in class 3, at the age of 9, when the child reaches 9, the class teacher has to be so perfect in her ability to teach, in her ability to understand the child, that she has to really have that capacity, and she has to be good in her subject. When she talks maths, the child has to have no doubts about her ability to teach maths. When the teacher teaches English, the child has to have no thoughts about whether she is making a mistake in pronunciation or spelling or whatever. No one should be able to challenge the teacher or the child. That kind of authority is what he is looking for. Now, this I understood when I was talking a little earlier about the homeschooling. For a child at that age, if you continue homeschooling up to here and beyond, the child with the parent has a different kind of relationship. A child cannot develop a feeling of authority for his own parents, because he looks at the parent in a completely different way. This has to be given to the child by another adult. That is the importance of a school set up in this way. So the teacher understands this. The part of the training of standard education enables or empowers the teacher to be ready for a stage like this. It can appear, it's not necessarily that the child, it will appear exactly at the age of 9. Suddenly half your children in your class may suddenly get into this kind of mood, And how do they do that? How do you come to know the teacher? We'll tell them that, because it's happened. It's been happening for 100 years, it will happen for another 100 years. The child will test you. He will ask you a question for which he already knows the answer. How does he know the answer? You've given him the answer. So he will test you whether you say the same thing or you're going to say another thing now. So the teacher has to be absolutely sure when he gives an answer to a particular question, she has to be sure that that is the correct one. Because it's very difficult even for a teacher to lie exactly the same way another time, you know.
Yeah.
And if 3 children ask the same question in different ways, you'll be lost. And then immediately the child will know that this teacher, sorry, she can't be an authority for me. And what happens to the discipline in the class? Out of the window.
Yeah.
And then the teacher will blame the child for it. It's a very ill disciplined class. I can't handle this class. So there will be punishments and there will be all sorts of things, and the parents will get involved and they punish the child. And the child says, what is this? I'm only looking for an authority. You can't have that.
This is a revolutionary system. How are you going to take this to other places in India?
An activity called CSETT, which is a Center for Standard Education and Teacher Training. As I have been mentioning consistently, I think personally we feel that what is lacking or what really prevents this system from having flowered and flourished in the way many other schools have flourished is the lack of consistent and intensive training, which is what we want to first of all start. Now the training for a standard education doesn't mean that the methods or the training that we give during the courses will be confined to a Steiner school. Anybody can come from other schools and use these methods in their schools, because it can only enhance the quality of the education that they give in whichever field, in whichever system of education they are in. But through that, we also want to create more and more schools which will be devoted to a standard education. There is a particular way we do things, and by the time the child comes to his third cycle of 7 years, which is from the age of 14 to 21, when he steps into adolescence, that is the time when the philosophy says the child is come ready with capacities to think. That is the time when he can seriously think on his own, form ideas on his own, form concepts in his own head, create capacity within himself to be able to do something in the outside world. And that is the time when all the other things that you talked about competing, the child creates his own standards, his own what do you call that, yardsticks for competition in the outside world. I can give you to you because since these schools have been running for 100 years, almost 100 years, for example, in the country like the United UK, they have the O-level exams and the A-level exams and all that, which the Waldorf School also have to follow, and children have been doing very well in that. And the varied fields into which students who come out of the school system go into society and provide leadership in whatever chosen profession they are in is unbelievable. It is all documented, things can be shown, and research work has been done on how Steiner students work in college and beyond. It's been there. These children bring a fresh perspective, a very open kind of thought processes, even among people they work with, whatever be their backgrounds. These people are able to open windows for the others, not only for themselves, they are able to open windows for the others. These are all coming out from whatever they have learned in school. You see, this is a kind of a time bomb effect, you know, whichever way it is, whether it is this education or that education. The effect of it can be seen only after 5 or 10 years. It can be seen in the activities that they do, it can be seen in their physiology. Today, more and more children who are coming out of a conventional education system are thinking very actively about suicides, about getting away from everything, about immersing themselves into hallucinogenic activities which takes them away from reality situations. This doesn't happen in Waldorf Education at all. I'm not saying that they won't get into it, but they'll come out of it. They'll know what it is worth because they are so confident about themselves. They'll go into everything. So this is the competition which is to be actively encouraged in society, where people can look at each other and work with human beings on that level, not to be burdened with this entire thing of money. Eventually, what are you going to do with it? You're going to leave it behind. So, as a human being, what are your contributions in society? this thought process itself cannot come just like that. You have to be trained to think, and this kind of training can come very easily as part of the educational process in the world of education. You don't have to do something separately. You don't have to have subject which says let's study environmental education. Environmental education is there from kindergarten in the school as part of the education itself. You don't have to do something separately to talk about social work, to talk about people and places. It's as part of geography. When we go deep into what those people of that area do and how come that they are there in that area, how come there are Eskimos in this part of the world and there are Maasai tribals in Africa, how come these people are so tall and those people are so short. All those things are taught to them. How come there is one type of economic activity in this part of the world which doesn't exist in that part of the world? You see, so everything is combined together. Nothing is seen in isolation of life. This is the most important thing. Everything that the education gives is connected with life. It is not connected only with economy or only with money, which doesn't even have life. Or you can say it has a completely different type of life which is not in consonance with the human's life.
Yeah. Besides establishing the Center for Education and Training, what are your future plans?
In Mumbai, we have started this school called Inodai Waldorf School, starting with a nursery and a kindergarten. For us, it's important to start stage by stage. We follow the, as I mentioned, the development cycles of the children. So it also helps us to establish the teachers and the teacher training course in that way. You can get information about the Inodai effort on www.inodai.webs.com. You can contact us at CSETT.com. You can visit our school. You can talk to us anytime. We are available to you. We have courses for one day. We have courses over the weekend. We have courses on 3 months. So whatever level of information that you need about Waldorf education and what we are doing is available to you.
One individual who believes and acts is a greater force than 99 who only have ideas. We hope the magic wand of the Steiner education system restores respectability to the teaching fraternity and the joy of discovering the universe to our little kids. Thank you, viewers, for your encouraging and overwhelming response to this unique chat show, Your 1%. Saying goodbye.